The international Morse code signal, and that marks the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, because as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea either. And good morning, everyone, on this beautiful day today. My engineer this morning, Todd, and I just talking about several things going on in the county. There was a fire at Tractor last night at Phil's place, so Tractor Supply, and our prayer to Phil and everybody. Nobody was hurt, is what I understand, but the fire was pretty substantial there in the main building part. So I was gonna try to call him earlier this morning, but I thought, nah, let them. I'm sure they had a long night, but our prayers are with you guys. We're thinking about you. Several of my clients called me and said, "There's a fire over there. What do you know? Like we're friends or something." Yeah, well, I know he sponsors your program. As always, one of many, but I'm sure as things as we know more, they'll be releasing more. They're not talking about it because of the investigation, so very little's come out yet. But we'll see. We'll see later. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. If you need to reach me, you can call me here at the station. My able engineer here and my staff will take your phone call. If I can answer your question on the air, I will. Please, any questions you have about this let's keep it to the new tax code. Okay, let's keep it to the new tax code. Last couple of weeks I've been getting a lot of questions about Trump, but let's keep it to the tax code. Any questions you have here at the station, 828-287-3356. Now, my telephone number is 828-289-9300 if you need to reach me. I have an office right here at 113 Whitesides Road in Rutherfordton. I have another office in Tryon, 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. Those of you watching us live streaming, www.WCAB59.com. Signal looks great this morning. Todd always, my able engineer, always doing a good job here. There's a lot I want to talk about. Let me go ahead and get Gilbert Talks Trump, Gilbert Talks government shutdown, Gilbert Talks all that out of the way. Let me go ahead and get that out of the way, because that seems to be what everybody wants to hear. People have been calling me all week, what do you think of this? I am going to talk about, today I'm going to talk about Section 199A. That's part of the new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It's actually kind of foundational to it. It's also referred to as the Qualified Business Income Deduction. You'll hear preparers and people talking about QBDI, Qualified Business Deduction. So you might want to put a cup of coffee on for that, or a pot of coffee on for that one, okay? Because it's pretty technical stuff, and the media has really avoided it. There's a lot of good stuff in here, in this, but the media avoids it because they really don't understand it. They just know what they're told, and what they're told is not always the case. But I'm going to talk about that, Section 199A. Going to talk about, and specifically, there are 7 questions I keep getting, broad questions I keep getting about it. The people that call me, other preparers that call me, people I talk to. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about situations that have been happening with some people where they prepaid some expenses, and they get a letter from the IRS that those deductions are not deductible. Well, they are deductible. There's just some procedures you have to do on that, and that could be a little problem there. I'm going to talk about that. And just in general, going to talk about what's been happening with the filings, what I'm seeing. We've already filed quite a few tax returns. Got a pretty full calendar today. Now, the first day to officially file, or what that means is the first day that the IRS technically starts receiving tax returns, is January 28th, okay? But we already have the software up and running, and because Congress has not been in session, there has not been any major addendums or additions to the law. So it's pretty much set in stone. We know what we're doing going forward. We may get some changes later, but for the most part, we're moving forward. So, with that said, we're filing. When I send it off, I do your tax return, get it all finalized, and we send it off. It pretty much just sits on a server. Now, I am at what's called an ERO, an electronic return originator. So when it leaves my office, it goes right through a third party and it goes right to the IRS server. Now, it's just sitting at this third party server till the IRS releases it. Well, they've actually released a few tax returns. I got one approval back, and I was shocked. What they'll do is they need to test the system. So they'll start taking some off the server. It doesn't mean you're going to get your refund any faster. It just means that they are working and they are doing this. Okay? So the first day, though, when it's just going to go right to the IRS and not sit anywhere, is the 28th. Now, those of you that are getting back earned income tax credit, child tax credit, additional child tax credit, your tax returns your tax returns will be held until February 15th for additional review. What they're reviewing is to make sure that there's no fraud, that you're not claiming children that somebody else is claiming. So they're reviewing that. They're giving that extra scrub. They've been doing it for a few years now, and they claim it's stopped a lot of fraud. It's reduced a lot of loss, so they're going to do it again. Now, so February 15th, so they'll start releasing those refunds end of February, unless there's a problem, and then you'll get a letter. But I would still tell you, get your tax return filed, regardless of when you're getting that refund, especially if you have some issues with earned income tax credit, child tax credit, because the first one in is usually the first one to post to the system first. So you want to get that in there. I'm going to talk a little bit, give some more details on that. Not that I haven't given enough already. Going to give a few more details on that. The big question that I'm getting, and I probably just answer it and call it a day, because that's pretty much what everybody wants to know is, Todd, they want to know, am I going to get my refund because the government is shut down? The answer is yes. They are releasing refunds on because this is tax year 2018 tax returns. They are releasing refunds. I know there was some news in the media, there's some news that no, they weren't. What had happened and what they were referring to is back in the shutdown of 2011, which was Obama. Yes, that one was Obama. We've had so many of these shutdowns. They're acting like this has never happened before. It's never had. Yes. It's happened. Obama's administration had, I lost track how many they had. If a listener knows that number, please call me or send me a text. Let me know. I believe it was over a dozen. How many, I don't know. Some were Congress's fault, some were the president's, okay? But, so in 2011 we had one, and the White House specifically, don't blame it on Obama, it was White House, is the way it's reported, said that refunds couldn't be issued. It was during tax time. Refunds couldn't be issued while government was shut down because that's money. That's part of the money that's being held up. So since then, the IRS did do some research and with some legal counsel and so on and so forth, and they've determined that money is not part of allocated budget money. That money actually belongs to the taxpayer. They're technically refunding you an overpayment of the money you overpaid, or if you've got credits from child tax credit or whatever credits you have, you're getting those credits. Either way, that money is your money. So they cannot keep that money. And courts have gone with this, so they're doing it. They're releasing money, which is the way it should be. Now, if you're waiting for money from a prior year or another situation, like I have an audit, I actually have two situations right now where we had audits, we had reviews, we prevailed in both cases, and my clients are waiting for money. That money's not going to be released until government's back in swing, more because of the paperwork associated with it, not so much the money. And I've noticed a major decrease in the mail I get at my P.O. box, which is my official government, where all my government mail goes. because cases I work on, I get a copy of everything from the IRS that you get, that my clients get. So we both get the mail, nothing falls through the cracks. And my mail load has gone down to almost nothing. It's kind of interesting. The states will do email. North Carolina has no problem emailing back and forth. They got a question or something, they'll shoot me an email, or they'll just pick up the phone and call. But the IRS likes to send those letters. And you get, people ask, why do we get 2 letters? Well, husband and wife, you will each get a letter. So they're saying, we each got a letter saying we owe $1,000. Does that mean we owe $2,000? No. If you file the joint return, you'll each get a letter. So that's always a lot of confusion. But that's been the big question all week. As a matter of fact, it's the first thing you asked me when I walk in here. Are we going to get our refunds? The answer is yes. You will be getting your refunds. And I think this whole thing is going to be resolved long before that. What I think will happen, we're on day 28 today, right? 28 days, okay. The longest one before that was 21 days, and that was Bill Clinton. The Bill Clinton shutdown over budget talks was 21 days. So let's Gilbert Talks government for a minute. I'm going to go back to something I said last week. I had some interesting feedback on a comment I made last week. Were you listening last week, Todd? I know you were busy. You had a few things going on. It's easy to blame government for all our problems. And again, why does Gilbert talk taxes, talk about government? Because the government uses taxation as a tool to get things they want done. If they want something, they'll give you a credit. If they want you to not do something, they will just tax it so that it's cost prohibitive to do it. It's that simple. And the government does use the law in the tax code to achieve their end result. If it wasn't for that, we would just have a flat tax. Not this progressive tax that we have. And by the way, just because they use the word progressive doesn't mean it's good. Somebody said, I'd rather have a progressive tax than a regressive tax. I said, I'd rather have no tax. If you really want to do that, I mean, why is there even a taxation system? Okay, but it's the system we have, and it's how government's funded for the services we get, plain and simple. So the government uses the law. So you have to talk about government. And before this last presidential election, I really felt like we had really no say-so in what goes on and what happens in Washington. And if you've ever been to Washington, it's a huge place, as our president says, a huge place. The buildings are all gigantic. The government is gigantic. And you feel like there's no control. But this president has shown us that there is some control. You think the only way change is going to come if you have an event like what happened in France, where they raised all the taxes. They raised the taxes on food, gasoline, medical services, everything. And the people just poured into the streets and shut everything down. And the man backed off those taxes. I think they even taxed postage stamps. I mean, everything that you could tax, they raised the tax on, created a few new taxes. The people poured into the streets, mostly nonviolent. Although the media did report that was in just a few isolated spots. Throughout the country, it was mostly a nonviolent protest. A lot of the government and the police even joined in by not doing anything, by just standing there and letting it happen. So you think that, but no, there's a lot we can do through our elected officials, as we are seeing in this situation. This isn't just about a government shutdown. This is about establishing some things and what's going to happen for the next 2 years. So I'm not taking sides on it. I'm really not. Last week I said, and the week before, and I've been quoting this to a lot of people, and I've quoted it here several weeks now, my favorite John F. Kennedy quote, which is, let us not seek the Republican answer. Let us not seek the Democrat answer. Let us seek the right answer. And that is what we need right now. What is the right answer? And the only person that has the right answer is God Almighty. And we need to just pray for that right answer to happen. And that's where I'm at. The scripture I shared last week was, there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end of it leads to destruction. And all these people, they think they're in the right way. They're doing what's right. You know, Nancy Pelosi thinks she's doing what's right. Chuck Schumer thinks he's doing what's right. President Trump thinks he's doing what's right. So, are they right? Are they wrong? I don't know, but God does. So we just need to pray for them. But last week I made the comment that it's easy to blame government for our problems, and we all talk about government's failure, whether it's state, local, big government. We always talk about the government failure and how it's a broken system. And I made the comment that, and I'm not the first one to come up with this. I actually heard part of it. Another person was speaking on his blog, and I picked up on it, and it really interested me, so I just kind of thought about it and researched a little on it. We don't have a broken government. Because really, we've always had a broken government. I mean, government has never, if anybody can name a time when government has worked, I mean, there's always been issues. And I would argue, and I would debate anybody on this using only the Constitution. In other words, I have the Constitution, you have the Constitution. I'll debate anybody that our government was created the way it was to have gridlock, to have stall, a stalled car, to have a stalled government. Because those forefathers felt that government that governs the least governs the best. They established a republic that was going to be for the people, by the people. And they wanted debate, and they wanted this kind of exchange. And there's a lot in there that says that. So it's not government that's broken. What we have is a broken media. That's really what's broken. I'm old enough to remember Walter Cronkite. I'm old enough to remember real journalism. Last week, Todd Jay said, and Jay teaches broadcast at the college. Jay doesn't say much, but when he speaks, he lays down some nuggets when he speaks, and that went right in my heart. He said, there are no journalists anymore. There's just commentators. And everybody's got an opinion. And with the internet and computers, and it's easy to get your opinion out there. Everybody's got a Twitter account except me. I don't have a Twitter account. I'm not going to get one. They just, whatever they think, they say. Back in the day, they would not, and I heard Walter Cronkite one time in an interview say this, we know things are going on with certain individuals, but we're not just going to run the story unless we have the proof. Where are they teaching that in journalism school today? I mean, they don't need proof anymore. They just, whatever allegation that they can come up with, they just go. And nobody stops to check it. They talk about fact-checking the president, but even their fact-checking is wrong. And then when they make a mistake and you call them, they use made-up words like misspoke. Well, we misspoke. No, you lied. Let me help you. You lied. They don't apologize. They don't ever publish a redaction. And if they do, it's, well, we were wrong, kind of, sort of. Really, we were right. That's not a redaction. That's not an apology. What we have is a broken media. And they cannot tell us the truth. We can no longer rely on them. So we just have to really, like no other time before, we have to pray and know that we're asking. There's another scripture that says, no one bothers to ask if this thing I'm holding in my right hand is a lie. We just have to ask, Jesus, is this thing I'm holding in my right hand a lie, or is this truth? Now, I'm going to finish up with this. We'll take a break and come back and get into some tax law. Those pots of coffee should have been started by now, and people should be pouring themselves a cup. So the president made an announcement yesterday that today at 3 o'clock in the diplomat room, not from the Oval Office, but the diplomat room, 3 p.m., Washington time, he is going to make an announcement. Now, there is a ton of speculation on what he's going to say. They leaked the story that he was going to sign some papers on Dreamers for his cash that he wants. But he said he was going to do that 6 months ago if Congress put a bill. Todd's nodding. You remember this. Our president was completely ready to make 1.8 million Dreamers citizens, resident aliens with rights, and then they could start the citizen. It was going to streamline the citizenship process. Then he came back like 2 days later and told Congress, might have been a week, I don't remember, but it was right after that, told Congress, I'll even do all the Dreamers, which I believe it's a pretty big number. And he said, well, I'll do them all. Give me some legislation. Give me a law. He wasn't going to do an order thing that could get undone by the next president. He wanted law. Let's do it the right way. They've yet to produce that. So I don't know. But this is going to be interesting. Whatever we get today, whatever he says is going to be interesting. And it just really needs to stop. It just needs to stop. We need to get back on course here and do this. What happens if it keeps going, if the shutdown keeps going? I think they'll just make the IRS mandatory personnel, and they have to show up for work. And as far as all this about them not getting paid, they are going to get paid. That was already announced. They're going to get back pay. For a lot of these people, this is just a paid vacation, a paid leave. So I don't have too much sympathy for any of them. Where was the media outrage when our mills here in this county shut down and all the mill workers got put out of work because President Clinton signed a bill called NAFTA that effectively shut all the mills down? Where was the media outrage and the GoFundMe accounts? Where was Nancy Pelosi bringing food to everybody that worked at Cone Mill? Yeah, exactly, Todd. Todd's shrugging his shoulders. Let's go ahead and take a break before I get in more trouble. Let's go ahead and take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM, 100.9 FM. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
We are back. WCAB 590 AM, 100.9 FM. I've been listening to the FM. It sounds great. It goes pretty far too. Yeah. You guys did a great job. These guys, the engineering that goes behind this. You turn the dial on and there it is. But with doing this now, for as long as I've been doing it, you really see what goes on behind the scenes, and a lot goes on behind the scenes. So I think I beat that to the ground. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. What is happening during the shutdown with the IRS? They're pretty much doing everything that needs to be done. Audits are the only thing right now that is on hold. Any audit work is on hold. We're still moving forward, sending replies, doing paperwork. Normally I fax a lot to the IRS. They're still old school. They have faxes. A lot of departments, it's easy to fax. Actually, it's a better way than sending a letter. it had, for me, especially if they're big packages and stuff, I can go ahead and just fax them and get it to them. But the fax machines have all been busy signals. That's kind of been, I got a backlog there, so I've just been mailing them. But other than that, we're going to move forward, and we'll see what happens here, what gets resolved. Now, before I start talking about tax law, interesting little story. It's not so little, actually. I talk about, of course, I am an enrolled agent. I am a person that prepares tax returns. I am a person that can resolve tax issues that you may be having. I'm a financial planner. I have securities licenses. I have Series 6, 63, and 65, so I am a full financial advisor. I can do everything with your securities. I design pension plans, retirement plans. I do business consulting. My focus has always been small business. I guess I just have a passion for small business. My father had a small business. My family's all had small businesses, and I started this program because I felt small business there's not too many places you can go for good advice, to get advice. It's just not there. And you can't trust the internet. A lot of times people don't understand what the problem is, let alone to get a solution for the problem. But so I don't. I mean, it'd be great if you called me for your tax return, for me to do it. That's wonderful. But the point I always make is, there's a point where you need professional help. I know a lot of people do their own, and that's great. I support that. I think it's wonderful. That's one of the great things about our system, that you can do your own tax return. But there comes a point when you need a professional, and then I always give a lot of advice and a lot of tips on, what to look for in a professional. And I say a lot of things, and people are like, well, really, are all those things you say that important? Yes, they're that important. The IRS has a lot on their website, irs.gov, about picking a tax preparer, what to look for, and, basic things like, what continuing education do they have? Are they just a person that sits there and fills in the blank? Really, you can do that. Are they a person that understands what's happening in that tax return? Do they understand the law? Do they understand what you can do and can't do? Because I'm all for, using the law. Everything in the law is there for you to use. So, and then other things like security. Does this person are they doing your tax return on a laptop? Or do they have a real computer system that is secured, that has firewalls and all the right equipment and the right technology? Why? Because your ID, your identification, and your information is worth money to hackers who will pay a lot of money for it. And then they love hacking tax preparers because tax preparers have a lot of information. So does this person have a professional system? And I've always said, if you go to somebody and they take out a laptop and start doing your tax return, please ask them some questions. What happens to that laptop? What happens to the data? So just be aware. Well, this little story that just came out, and actually this story started back 3 years ago, February of 2016. Liberty Tax Service was actually sued. They were accused of preparing fraudulent returns and promising refunds that were just beyond the norm. And the IRS publishes the IRS's Dirty Dozen of tax scams, and I think Liberty Tax was accused of doing like all 12 of them. And Liberty is a huge franchise, by the way, but it's made up of a lot of small operators. I can't remember how many offices they have. They have a lot. They have a lot of offices. They are H&R Block is number one, and Jackson Hewitt is number two. Liberty is number three or number two, depends on who you ask and what year it is. They prepare huge amounts of tax returns. So there was some fraud. Them boys were giving us some fraud over there at Liberty, and there's a lot. I don't want to get into any of the specific details. There were 9,700 complaints. The IRS audited these returns, and in fact, there were a lot of small business people that were told to put down false expenses, reduced income. That's the Schedule C, or people, they told them to claim bogus dependents that weren't yours, false identification. The laundry list goes on and on and on. Well, the Justice Department, their goal in 2016 was to shut Liberty down. They actually published an article saying the Justice Department sues to permanently shut down Liberty Tax Service. Okay? Liberty Tax Service, the franchise owners, not the actual corporate, but the actual franchise owners. This was in 2016. So I don't know that specifically where that went, but last week it was announced that Liberty Tax is going to have to pay a class action lawsuit in relation to that of $175 million. That is a lot of money for our business. That is a lot of money. So this could essentially put them out of business. So this year, for those of you looking for professional help, just be aware when you go, the person you go to, please go to a professional. A professional is somebody that does this all the time. Now, they may have seasonal workers, like they may have, staff members that only come on during the tax time when they're extra busy. A lot of times there'll be college interns, accounting majors. They get some college credit and make a few extra dollars by working long hours during tax season. That's okay. That's not out of the norm. But if it's a person that is all they do, is they do tax returns from January to April 15th, and then they're gone, they do whatever, and the business actually shuts down, think twice before you go to a person like that. I'm not telling you not to go to them, but just think twice. And as far as, your girlfriend's friend who does tax returns, and she's really cheap, Todd. She's really cheap, and she does a really good job. She's got TurboTax on her computer, and she can do your tax return for $50. Please don't do that. That is asking for trouble. Because in an audit, who's going to help you? Start with that. Number two, it's illegal if she's not a registered preparer with a PTIN. They have to have a PTIN number, a practitioner ID number. And if they don't have this number, it's illegal. If they print the tax return for you to mail it in and e-filing is not an option, there's a problem there. And then, or if they go to e-file it and when you sign it, it says on the bottom, self-prepared, there's a problem. You did not self-prepare. You went to a professional, or you went to a person you thought was a professional. There is liability and responsibility that I take when I take you on as a client. I have errors and omissions insurance. I have a lot of things on the back end to get this done. I had a financial planner this week tell me going to see tax preparers is the equivalent of a financial dentist visit. And I never thought of it that way. And I said, how can I make this a little more pleasing for people? So what we offer is a professional service. Let's go ahead and take another break. Todd, come back. We're going to talk about Section 199A. Section 199A. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300. People come up to me all the time and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return. I just got my refund. Any idea what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I've got an idea. Call NC Tractor and Farm Supply on Railroad Avenue. Get yourself a brand new Massey Ferguson. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. And when you're talking to Phil, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. You know what he'll do for you? Absolutely nothing. But me, he's going to give me a discount when I buy my Massey Ferguson.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes. WCAB. That was a quick one. WCAB 590. Cooper Talks Taxes. Now, I hope everybody's got their cup of coffee and they're ready for this. Section 199A. Okay. For most small businesses and self-employed, people that are self-employed, the 20% tax deduction from the new tax code, Section 199A, is the most valuable tax deduction to come out of the Tax Cuts and Job Act's tax reform bill. Okay, this is major. I would even say this is the cornerstone of it. Now, we have done in all the tax returns we've done so far. I'm looking at last year's, and you remember I said last year there was a little piece of software that the engineers attached. I use professional software, and the engineers that designed it, based on the law we had at that time, because things did change a little, not much, but a little. And of course, we didn't know what was going to happen at the end of the year. Nothing has happened, so we're having no major changes. They designed a little piece of software to go with it that allowed me, assuming everything is the same for next year, the year we're in now, how much they could get, or might get, or should get. So everybody pretty much was getting back more money, anywhere from $300, $400, $500 up to $2,000. I think the average was somewhere around $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, somewhere in there. That seemed to be the norm. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, it was in there. Okay, so but everybody's getting back more money. So the ones that have come back this that are coming back this year, that it is pretty much the same as last year. I've gone back and checked that software. It was extremely accurate. So I had the one I had last night, their refund this year to what the estimated refund last year was, $120 difference, which is that's pretty close, 0.003%. So it was very, very close. And the others have been pretty close too. Now, others have had so many changes that it's apples and oranges. But the ones where I can get apples and apples, it's been pretty accurate. So this is major. This is the most valuable tax deduction to come out of the Tax Cut and Job Acts. Again, for small business owners and self-employed. For those of you that have child tax credit, I think the biggest thing for you there is the fact that it's, instead of it being $1,000 per child, it's $2,000 per child. I'm going to talk about that in the last section. Okay, so the Section 199A tax deduction is complicated. I've been taking continuing ed about it I took a class in June, took another one in August, and then took the big one, the all-day class, in December 4th in Charlotte. And I took a few follow-up things online just last week and the week before. So it's complicated. There's a lot of moving parts to this law. There's many questions, and a lot of these questions remain unanswered. The IRS has issued regulation and governance. I'm expecting we're going to see more coming. To further complicate matters, there's a lot of miscommunication out there about it. What happened is, early on, a lot of things got said. Then the IRS came back and said, no, that's not how we're interpreting this. And all summer they were kind of going back and forth. So until the IRS issues a final governance or a final opinion, you don't know what it's going to be. And as I said earlier, we have a broken media. You can't believe anything they said about this because they don't understand. I always go back to, you remember this law got passed like on a Friday at 3 in the morning. It was the Saturday at 3 in the morning. It happened. They were debating it Friday. I was following it. It was on C-SPAN. I was following it, and it was just time to go to bed because I had to get ready for the program. Woke up Saturday morning, and we had the law. So I quickly glanced at it, came into the studio, and CNN was already doing a report how this was the worst tax law ever. Well, how in 5 hours did they figure that out? and it wasn't all. Everything they said about it was pretty much wrong. I'm still waiting to see that apology, but that's another story. So there's a lot of misinformation. Okay, so these are 7 general topics that we keep getting. I'm going to hit on them, and this is not intended to answer any one specific question, but what I want you to do is give me a call if you have any further questions. You can call my office, 828-289-9300, or you can send me an email, gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. I'm a little behind on emails. Those of you that requested our guide, there's still a few more I need to get back out. I was giving away a guide. I still am, by the way. If anybody wants it, I'll send you a PDF of the guide. It's got all the numbers for the thresholds for the taxes, and all the numbers for child tax credit, and all the limits, and pretty much the same one, but it's for the new law in mind. So it's about an 8-page guide. I'll give you that just for listening to the program. So, and that's Gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. Thank you, Todd. Gilbertcarmona.com. Question number 1, a lot of questions about real estate agents. Are real estate agents and brokers an out-of-favor specified service trade or business for purpose of Section 199A? What happens is this law favors certain professions. There are certain professions that are favored. There are other professions that are out of favor. Why? I don't know. Those professions should know more. They're already in high-income professions. One of them is financial planners. So I don't know where the high-income part comes from, but anyway, those are out of favor. So there was early on it was said that real estate agents are out of favor, then they're in favor, they're out of favor, and we went back and forth. The answer is no. Real estate agents are not out of favor, and those of you that are following this and know this, you know what that means. The proposed regulations specifically exclude real estate agents and brokers from the broker category. So there is a broker category, and in that category, because there are many different types of brokers, and I think that's where the confusion came from, because brokers, generic brokers, real estate brokers are excluded from that list. I'm actually looking for the reference on that. That is, see, Todd, I just don't give my opinion. I give you reference. That is, and it's still proposed regulation, but it's good. I mean, we can move forward on it. It's Reg Section 1.199A, and that's subsection 5B. It's specifically listed in there. You'll see it. The broker category. Okay, the proposed regulation also narrowly interpreted the reputation or skill such that the real estate agent doesn't suffer under this provision either. Because real estate agents, real estate brokers, in North Carolina, we're an all-broker state. Everybody that has a real estate license has a real estate broker license. I have a real estate broker license, Todd. Did you know that? Yes, I got it, and I keep it because I work with a lot of real estate agents, and I'm a trust account expert. I can go ahead and say that because I do a lot of trust accounts. And trust accounts are a little quirky. You have to know what you're doing with them. And North Carolina Real Estate Commission has some very specific rules and guidelines on how to handle those trust accounts. You know, that's real, because realtors, real estate brokers, a realtor is a person that joins the association, but anybody with a brokerage license, they're handling a lot of money. And that money sits in their account, and you have to know how to report that money. So they do have a reputation skill. So for the latest on who's in favor and out of favor, the new IRS 199A regulation benefit out of favor service business. So on the website irs.gov, if you just Google for out of or search within the website out of favor service businesses, you'll specifically see real estate brokers, real estate agents are not there, and you can see the governance, the law behind it. But just take it from me, they are not out of favor, which is a big deal for you guys that are full-time active real estate brokers, agents in South Carolina that are make a living from this. This is going to be huge for you guys. Question number 2, shareholder wages. So this is a question that typically gets asked, and actually I've had a question just like this last week. Do my S Corporation shareholder wages count as wages paid by the S Corporation for purpose of the 50% Section 199A wage limitation? So there's wage limitations in there. The question is, do my S Corporation shareholder wages count as wages paid? The answer is yes. Yes, this is very important. Yes, all wages properly allocated to your qualified business income, that's QBI again, QBI count, including S Corp shareholder wages. In addition, let's clarify two common misconceptions about S Corporation shareholder reasonable compensation. Those of you S Corp people, there's reasonable compensation, and then there's your money you get for being a shareholder. You can't just get that money. You have to get wages also that are subject to self-employment tax. So the two biggest misconceptions: your S Corporation shareholder reasonable compensation is a tax deduction for the S Corporation. It is not by itself QBI eligible for the 20% deduction. Okay? If you've got a question on that, please call me. That is a whole meeting right here. But when your taxable income is above the $157,000 and that's for single, it's $315,000 for married, the wages paid by the S Corporation, including wages paid to more than 2% shareholders, can improve and even create a Section 199A tax deduction. I actually did an 11th hour switch with a company and was able to reduce his taxes significantly by making this move. So please talk to your person about whoever helps you with your S Corporation, your bookkeeper, your accountant. Talk to them about your 2% shareholder and how you can improve that tax deduction. The second misconception: for Section 199A purposes, the reasonable compensation requirements and considerations apply to S corporations only. Okay, so for more of this, S corps, if you have an S corporation, and remember, S corporation tax returns are due March 15th. They are not April 15th. March 15th. Your tax return has to be done. Partnerships, March 15th. C corps are April 15th. Question number 3, retirement contributions. Will my allowable SEP, you can have a SEP, you can have a simple, you can have a 401k, there's others, but basically they're retirement contributions, self-employed, small business. Will my allowable SEP, simple, 401k contribution as a Schedule C taxpayer be based on my Schedule C net earnings, or do I first subtract the Section 199A deduction? This is a great question. Great question. We'll continue to use the Schedule C net earnings with no adjustment for Section 199A. And that's the latest governance we've gotten on that. So that, again, is pretty huge. That's in the regs under 1B15 and Section 2B. So there was a lot of research went into that. Okay, so let me elaborate more on that. You base your retirement contribution amounts on your sole proprietorship, for your sole proprietorship, on the net income for self-employment less the deduction for 1% of self-employment tax. Nothing in Section 199A or its proposed regulations adjusts this rule for the Section 199A deduction. See, Todd, this stuff's so complicated, I actually have it written down. Normally, I come in here and I'll have, general notes, but I've got this word for word. I didn't want to miss anything. Okay, so I've got 3 more questions. Let's do this. 4 more questions. Let's do this. Let's take our last break here. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM.
This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you. This is Gilbert. I've made a career out of helping businesses. Something else that can help businesses is a good sign. Let me tell you about DS Signs and Graphics right here in Spindale. Whether it's outdoor signage, banners, printing, or promotional items, call Alex at 828-286-4900. And remember, a good sign is good business.
Talks Taxes, we're back. That was the final break. Let me keep moving with this. So that was a good break for everybody to pour that second or third cup of coffee. Question number 4. Bonus depreciation. And I've talked about this the last couple of weeks, talked about it before the new year. Bonus depreciation in Section 179, because that was the time to make those purchases to get your Section 179 and your bonus depreciation. Is QBI, qualified business income, reduced by either bonus depreciation or Section 179 expensing? Yes, they are both reduced by it, okay? Bonus depreciation and Section 179. QBI is the net amount of qualified terms of income, gain, deduction, loss with respect to the trade or business. Qualified items of income, gain, deduction, and loss are effectively connected. Anything connected with the conduct of the business in the United States, by the way, this is limited to U.S., included are allowed in determining taxable income for the tax year. Let me go back over here. So just be aware when you're doing that calculation, your bonus depreciation in your Section 179, and you may want to stop and just review and see which you want to do. Don't just assume. Because normally there's clients, especially the smaller operators, they'll just buy a truck. They buy a truck. They needed a truck for their other truck burned up. Let's just Section 179, and it qualifies. You may want to look at it. You want to maximize that deduction. Do you take the bonus depreciation? Or do you go with Section 179? And those are deductions. I'm not going to get into that. I've done a whole show on those. Okay, question number 5, shareholder loan interest. Okay, I took out a loan to buy S Corporation stock. Somebody just asked me this a week before last about this and Section 199A. I took out a loan to buy S Corporation stock. Okay, the interest is deductible on my Schedule E. Does the interest reduce my qualified business income? It is a full deduction, because the answer is it is a full deduction from qualified business income in most circumstances. There may be a few exceptions. If you use debt to acquire S Corporation stock, then the interest tracing rules apply, and you'll allocate the interest among all of the S Corporation's assets using any reasonable method. That's a discussion we have. I go over the available methods. There's only a couple, and then we just move on from there. You'll deduct the interest amounts that are allocated to the S Corporation trade or business. It does go on Schedule E against the S Corp net income. So if the S Corp uses all the assets for trade or business, then the interest is 100% deductible. So it's prorated to the amount of assets that are allocated for business or trade. Since it meets the definition of qualified item for deduction, we've discussed above, the interest reduces QBI. The only exception would be interest not allocated to S Corporation trade or business if it's for passive investments. Passive investments, where you're just a passive investor putting money in there, where that doesn't, shareholder loan interest is not deductible in that case. And then question 6, the out of favor specified service trade or business does not qualify for Section 199A deduction. Is this correct? So you've got these people that are out of favor. There's a whole list of them. You're an out of favor. You're a financial advisor and you're out of favor. That means you can't. You don't qualify for Section 199A deduction. You say, "Oh, this is unfair," but it's the law. You don't qualify. So there are. Okay, so is there any part of it I can qualify for? So you do not qualify. Yes. So the answer is it's incorrect. You're not completely out of favor. You're not completely out of the loop on this. There are things that still apply to you. Looking at your taxable income is the first step to see whether you qualify for the deduction. If your taxable income from the IRS is $157,000 or less, single, $315 if you're married, and you have a pass-through business, you will qualify. Even if your certain aspects of it are out of favor, you still will qualify. With taxable income equal to or below the thresholds, your type of pass-through business makes no difference. Retail store owners, medical doctors with income equal to or below the thresholds qualify in the same exact manner. Okay, it's the pass-through entity. That's the issue there. Okay, so if your preparer or the person you go to is telling you that because you're out of favor, you don't qualify for that sole reason alone, that is not true. Have that looked at. Okay, no, and then the last one is notary publics, which I am a notary public also, Todd. I'm on everything, of course. Yeah, of course. I have to be a notary public. Actually, so's Christy, and so's Allison. So we have 3 notary publics, no waiting. This is what we say. All notary publics are out of favor specified trade or business. We are not. We are not. Right now, there hasn't been a governance on it, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say we are not out of favor. Okay, you might consider the notary public as a performing service. So there's like non-attorney paralegals and mediators, which are out of favor. I don't know. I don't think they're going to do that. Notary publics have always been favored. So I think they're going to keep that status up. I really do. So we will see what happens there. There's a lot of rules. There are 4.4 million notaries. I'm studying because mine expires in April and I want to go ahead and renew it before I get real busy with taxes. So I'm trying to get that out of the way. 4.4 million notaries. And I think 4.2 million of them are here in Rutherford County. I'm not going to get into more of that. So the takeaways for each one of these questions: real estate agents and brokers aren't out of favor businesses for the Section 199A tax deduction. This again is going to be huge for you guys that work in it all the time. For the Section 199A tax deduction, you treat S corporation shareholder wages in the same manner you treat wages paid by the S corporation to your rank and file, your everyday employees. For the deduction, you don't adjust Schedule C net income deduction for your retirement contributions. That again is very good. Bonus depreciation in Section 199 do reduce your QBI, qualified business income. So it's very important. Look at that depreciation. Don't just do what you always did. Stop and take a look at it. Analyze it. Okay? Because there's a lot there. And you should be doing that anyway. I mean, there's a whole branch of accounting that specializes in bonus depreciation and that. You're holding up your 1 minute finger? 1 minute finger. Okay. Everybody drink coffee real fast now. With loan interest, you deduct on Schedule E against your S corporation reduces qualified business income, which if you're trying to get that income down, that's very important. With taxable income of $157,000 for single and $315 married, you qualify for Section 190A regardless of in favor or out of favor business status. Okay? And we don't have guidance yet on notary publics, but I think you guys are going to be okay. And some of these notary publics, believe it or not, make a pretty good income, especially the traveling ones that professionally do this. So this could be pretty huge for them also. We just think of them as being the $5, at the counter person. But no, some of them actually do this, and they travel. They do electronic, computer, online. It's a big deal. Okay, so I think that's it. Let's wrap up the program for today. And if you have any questions, please call me, 828-289-9300. Send me an email, gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. If there's a topic you want me to talk about next week, please let me know. I didn't get to 2 of them, so I will be bringing these back around next week, okay? Well, we'll just be bringing them back around. Let's just leave it at that. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. Thank you for listening.